Ever wonder how your favorite Star Wars villains rank in terms of psychological evil? Today, we're mapping some of the darkest characters from the extended Star Wars universe onto Dr. Michael Stone's 22 levels of evil. A chilling hierarchy that breaks down villainy from self-defense to unrestrained psychopathic killers. We'll begin with the least evil and work our way up to the top. Starting us off, Bastila Shan exemplifies individuals who kill solely to protect themselves or others without malice or psychopathy. Her journey in Knights of the Old Republic begins as a heroic Jedi dedicated to her mission, but takes a darker turn when Darth Malak captures and manipulates her. Forced into battle as his apprentice, Bastila struggles against the Sith's control and the temptation of power, causing immense internal turmoil. Her defining moment comes during a confrontation on the Starforge, where she breaks free from Malak's influence, rejects the dark side, and aids Revan in defeating him. This act of self-defense cements her as a standout figure in a world filled with morally gray characters. Next, Anakin Skywalker demonstrates how crimes of passion are driven by intense emotions like jealousy or desperation. Here, his obsessive love for Padme Amidala and fear of losing her are central to his tragic downfall in Revenge of the Sith. This descent is deepened by the traumatic death of his midi-chlorian-loving mother, Shmi Skywalker, after being tortured by Tusken Raiders. After learning of this, he slaughtered an entire Tusken village in a moment of grief and rage. Worse yet, under Darth Sidious's influence, Anakin's moral collapse culminated in his massacre of the younglings during Order 66, solidifying his transformation into Darth Vader. Up another level, director Orson Krennic showed us how some villains enable evil without directly committing its worst acts. As the architect of the Death Star in Rogue One, A Star Wars Story, Krennic furthered the Empire's destructive goals without wielding ultimate power himself. His ambition drove him to oversee the weapon's construction, facilitating atrocities like the destruction of Jedha City as just a start. Ultimately, Krennic's blind loyalty and hubris led to his betrayal and death by the very weapon he helped create, cementing his role as a tragic enabler of the Empire's terror. Higher still, Moff Gideon exemplifies individuals who kill in self-defense but often provokes the violence they later respond to. As the leader of the Imperial remnants in The Mandalorian, Gideon's pursuit of Grogu for cloning experiments involving Force-sensitive blood demonstrates his willingness to cross ethical boundaries for power. In response to resistance, his deployment of fearsome Dark Troopers highlights his use of terror as a weapon. In a defining moment during his duel with Din Djarin, he wields the Darksaber, a symbol of power over Mandalore, in a bid to maintain his barbaric control. Gideon's manipulative tactics and readiness to fight make him one of the most cunning and dangerous figures in the post-Empire era. Next up, Jacen Solo taught us how deep trauma can drive individuals to commit violence, even against loved ones. In the Legacy of the Force series, Jacen's psychological scars and exposure to Sith teachings twist his ideals into a belief that ultimate sacrifice is needed for stability. His defining moment occurs in his duel with Mara Jade Skywalker, his aunt, where he kills her in cold blood to secure his vision of peace. This act fractures his family and deepens the divide between him and the Jedi Order. As Darth Caedus, his authoritarian role and manipulation of the Galactic Alliance reveal how a hero's trauma and corrupted ideals can tragically transform them into a tyrant. Even higher, Kylo Ren showed us how some commit violent acts impulsively, driven by intense emotions in the heat of the moment. His volatile nature and lack of emotional control make him a prime example of rash decision-making. Defining moments such as his tantrum-driven attack of an unwitting computer to his confrontation with Han Solo on Starkiller Base. Kylo operates out of unbridled emotion, which only deepens his psychopathy. Worse, his destructive assault on Luke Skywalker's Jedi Temple and erratic leadership of the First Order further illustrate how his anger blinds him to his own consequences. If that wasn't enough, Grand Admiral Thrawn personifies extreme egotism and detachment from the consequences of his actions. His tactical brilliance is matched by a cold pragmatism, as seen in the Heir of the Empire trilogy, where he manipulates the Noghri into becoming loyal assassins under the guise of protection. This exploitation devastates their culture, stripping them of autonomy to serve his imperial ambitions. Thrawn's psychological warfare, including his analysis of cultural artifacts to predict enemy behavior, showcases his calculating genius. The eventual revelation of his deceit by Leia Organa unravels his plans and highlights his disregard for the lives he manipulates, making him the embodiment of a detached yet brilliant strategist. Next, Asajj Ventress showed us that some villains are driven by deep-seated anger rather than psychopathy. Her journey from orphan child to Sith assassin is defined by betrayal, loss, and a struggle for identity. After the murder of her Jedi Master by pirates, Ventress's rage and desire for revenge were exploited by Count Dooku, who trained her in the ways of the Sith. In the Clone Wars, she faced another betrayal when Dooku abandoned her under orders from Darth Sidious, leading to the tragic massacre of her Night Sister clan by General Grievous. Despite these losses, Ventress finds moments of redemption, such as her alliance with Obi-Wan Kenobi, showcasing her ability to channel her rage into purpose, making her one of the most compelling characters in the galaxy. Up another level, Darth Maul shows how jealousy and manipulative tendencies can drive characters to psychopathy. Consumed by hatred and an obsessive need for vengeance against Obi-Wan Kenobi, Maul's actions are fueled by a desire to reclaim his power and status within the Sith hierarchy. Presumed dead after his defeat in The Phantom Menace, his return in the Clone Wars marked his descent into a much darker psychopathy. Maul's manipulation of Mandalore and creation of the Shadow Collective highlights his ruthless cunning and ambition, culminating in the devastating Siege of Mandalore. Almost expectantly, his unrelenting obsession with revenge consumes him in the end. Higher still, Cad Bane represents those who ruthlessly eliminate obstacles, but without full psychopathy. As one of the galaxy's most dangerous bounty hunters, Bane is known for his cold precision and unwavering resolve, driven solely by profit. His infiltration of the Jedi Temple in the Clone Wars, where he uses hostages, traps, and deception, showcases his cunning and ability to outmaneuver even the most powerful Force users. While Bane only kills when necessary, his indifference to collateral damage and moral ambiguity mark him as a true mercenary. From high-stake heists to battles against Jedi, his pragmatic violence and a relentless pursuit of survival cement him as one of Star Wars' most infamous and feared bounty hunters. Halfway through, and the Grand Inquisitor exemplifies characters with overt psychopathic traits, but still driven by personal gain. His obsession with hunting Jedi and delight in instilling fear make him a chilling enforcer of the Empire. As a former Jedi Temple guard, his fall to the dark side stemmed from deep bitterness and a thirst for power. In Star Wars Rebels, his pursuit of Kanan Jarrus showcases his psychological manipulation and brutal combat tactics, designed to break Kanan's spirit by confronting his deepest fears. Choosing death over facing Darth Vader's wrath, the Grand Inquisitor's swan dive into the void underscores the unrelenting cycle of fear within the Sith hierarchy, cementing his legacy as a tragic yet terrifying predator of the dark side. Next up, Count Dooku personifies individuals who resort to violence when their authority or interests are threatened. Once a respected Jedi Master, his fall to the dark side was driven by disillusionment with the Jedi Order's complacency and a hunger for power. Under Darth Sidious's influence, Dooku became a calculating figure, orchestrating the Clone Wars and committing atrocities like the execution of Jedi and the enslavement of entire worlds. A defining moment is his duel with Anakin Skywalker aboard the Invisible Hand, where his attempt to maintain control backfires, leading to his death at the hands of the apprentice he was grooming. Dooku's story is a tragic descent into darkness, where noble ideals were twisted into a ruthless quest for power. Even higher, Savage Opress embodies characters consumed by uncontrollable anger that fuels their violent actions. His transformation into a Sith warrior in the Clone Wars, amplified by Night Sister magics, turned him into a destructive force of chaos. Savage's rampage, including his assault on the Jedi Temple on Ta'Veren, where he slaughters multiple Jedi in a frenzy, showcases the devastating power of his unrestrained rage. However, this inability to channel his fury blinds him to the strategic thinking required to navigate the Sith's brutal hierarchy, ultimately leading to his downfall. His story serves as a chilling reminder of the catastrophic consequences of letting rage dictate one's path. Perhaps even worse, Dryden Voss showed us that some villains are manipulative characters who orchestrate betrayals for personal gain. As the leader of Crimson Dawn and Solo: A Star Wars Story, Voss was a ruthless crime lord with resources to rival the Hutts during the dark times of the Empire. Skilled in a combat style taught by Darth Maul himself, he maintained control over others through fear and cunning. His betrayal of Han Solo and Beckett during the Coaxium heist, followed by his ultimate downfall at the hands of Kira, highlights his inability to see loyalty beyond his own ambition. Dryden Voss's legacy is one of paranoia and ruthless ambition, exemplifying the precarious nature of power built on manipulation and violence. Next, General Grievous exemplifies individuals who commit mass murder with little or no remorse. Once a proud Kaleesh warrior, he was reshaped into a fearsome cyborg who relished massacring Jedi and collecting their lightsabers as trophies. As Supreme Commander of the Separatist droid army, Grievous led brutal campaigns that devastated entire systems. His invasion of Coruscant, where he captured Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, left chaos and destruction in its wake. Grievous's repeated acts of cruelty and calculated approach to warfare cement him as a figure who thrives on fear and suffering. Up another level, Grand Moff Tarkin exemplifies individuals who commit repeated acts of violence with calculated intent. His ruthless pragmatism is on full display in A New Hope with the destruction of Alderaan, a calculated act of genocide framed as a tool to suppress rebellion. Tarkin's belief in fear as a means of control is epitomized in his cold command, "You may fire when ready," as billions are annihilated. His role in constructing and operating the Death Star underscores his utilitarian view of the galaxy, seeing entire populations as expendable to maintain order. Tarkin's repeated use of mass violence to enforce submission leaves a chilling legacy of fear and solidifies his position as one of the Empire's most calculated and vicious figures. Higher still, Jabba the Hutt embodies sadistic characters driven by disturbing obsessions. His hedonistic and exploitative nature, combined with nearly unlimited resources, made him one of the galaxy's most feared crime lords. In Return of the Jedi, his treatment of Leia as a trophy slave and his casual cruelty, including feeding subordinates to the Rancor for entertainment, highlight his depravity. Jabba's palace on Tatooine, a den of debauchery and criminal activity, symbolizes his dominance over the Outer Rim's underworld. Leveraging alliances with bounty hunters like Boba Fett, Jabba maintained control over illegal trade, smuggling, and slavery, earning his legacy as a tyrant of galactic infamy. Entering the top 5 levels of evil, Gethzerian demonstrated that some villains like to inflict pain as a central part of their actions. As the Night Sister matriarch in the courtship of Princess Leia, she thrived on torment and domination, maintaining an iron grip over Dathomir through fear and cruelty. Her mastery of dark magic allowed her to enslave and torture her enemies, including forcing captured Imperials into demeaning and excruciating tasks to showcase her control. Gethzerian's ambition extended beyond Dathomir, with plans to seize Imperial ships and spread her terror across the galaxy. Her unchecked cruelty and relentless thirst for domination make her one of the most chilling figures in the Star Wars universe. Next up, Marchion Ro represented villains defined by large-scale atrocities and the systemic use of terror. As the leader of the Nihil in the High Republic, Ro spreads devastation on a galactic scale through hyperspace sabotage and relentless attacks on defenseless populations. His orchestration of the Great Disaster, which disrupted hyperspace travel, caused countless deaths and plunged the galaxy into chaos. This act destabilized the Republic's ability to govern, leaving the galaxy vulnerable to exploitation by criminal syndicates and warlords. Ro's calculated atrocities not only spread fear, but also reshaped galactic politics, earning his place as one of the most ruthless figures in Star Wars history. At third, Supreme Leader Snoke embodies sadistic individuals who take pleasure in both psychological and physical torment. His reign of terror and manipulation is defined by a chilling delight in causing pain and destruction. He used his knowledge of the dark side to not only psychologically dominate individuals like Kylo Ren, but also to sustain his own mysterious existence to extend his influence across the galaxy. He enabled the First Order's rise in the unknown regions, collecting the fractured remnants of the Empire, using fear and mystique to unify scattered warlords and prepare for the First Order's emergence. His orchestration of the Starkiller base attack, which obliterated entire star systems and cost billions of lives, underscores his capacity for large-scale destruction. Snoke's methodical pleasure in breaking his victims both physically and emotionally makes him one of the galaxy's most deranged and sadistic tormentors. Somehow higher, Nuvo Vindi symbolize villains who prioritize inflicting pain without necessarily killing their victims. As a scientist for the Separatists in the Clone Wars, Vindi's sadistic tendencies manifested in his creation and weaponization of the Blue Shadow virus. Obsessed with achieving his vision of a perfect republic, he conducted cruel experiments, exposing test subjects to the virus while relishing their agony. His lab, filled with deadly creatures and horrifying trials, stands as a grim testament to atrocities committed under the guise of scientific process, where he only saw death as data. During his confrontation with the Jedi, his manic demeanor and deranged monologues reveal his unyielding belief in the value and enduring nature of his work, making him a chilling figure of cruelty and zealotry. At the pinnacle of Star Wars evil is the one and only Darth Sidious, who embodies pure, unrelenting cruelty and sadism. His manipulation of the galaxy in the prequels and beyond cements him as the ultimate villain of the Star Wars universe. Sidious orchestrated the infamous Order 66, leading to the near extinction of the Jedi Order across the universe, and rose to power as Emperor. All hallmarks of his unparalleled ruthlessness. His deliberate manipulation of Anakin Skywalker into becoming Darth Vader highlights his ability to corrupt even the strongest individuals to serve his will. Beyond personal manipulations, Sidious reshaped galactic power structures by eroding democracy, creating the Empire, and ruling through unlimited fear, propaganda, and subjugation. His engineering of the Death Star as a tool of mass genocide and his secretive resurrection plans illustrate his chilling ambition for domination across generations, earning him the title of Absolute Evil in Star Wars. And there you have it, a true view into the psychopathy of the dark side. If you agree, join us. We have cookies. If you don't,
I find your lack of faith disturbing.